Hello everybody, I'm Sen McGlynn. I do Baha'i studies and gardening and art and other stuff in Kawa, New Zealand. I've got something interesting for you about twins. The guardianship and the Universal House of Justice never functioned together, and some Baha'is think it's just as well that the line of guardians ended with the death of Shoghi Effendi. One Baha'i remarked on social media, "Think what the Baha'i world would look like with a guardian and a universal house of justice at the same time. There would be two centres." Yes, indeed. If things had worked out as Abdu'l-Baha intended, there would be two centres. And it would be beautiful, not chaotic at all. This is crucial to understanding Shoghi Effendi's mind. He thought in terms of pairs that complement one another. As regards the guardianship and the Universal House of Justice, he wrote, "The interpretation of the guardian, functioning within his own sphere, is as authoritative and binding as the enactments of the International House of Justice, whose exclusive right and prerogative is to pronounce upon and deliver the final judgment on such laws and ordinances as Baha'u'llah has not expressly revealed. Neither can nor will ever infringe upon the sacred and prescribed domain of the other. Neither will seek to curtail the specific and undoubted authority with which both have been divinely invested." That explains how the Baha'i community would work with two centres at the Baha'i World Centre. The two would be quite distinct, and they would complement one another because each has its own work to do, and each would love and respect the other. Another of these pairs in Shoghi Effendi's mind is the question of church and state. In his Oxford presentation, he wrote, "Church and state, thus far from being divorced from one another, are harmonised. Their interests are reconciled, are brought to cooperate for the same end, yet for each is reserved its special and definite sphere of activity." Shoghi Effendi's Oxford presentation is not well known, but you can find it on my blog, and I'll put the link in the comments. Note that Shoghi Effendi's piece on church and state, each having its special and definite sphere of activity, was written earlier than the quote on the guardianship and the House of Justice, each having its prescribed domain. So his tendency to find pairs and twins in everything goes back to a time when he didn't know the contents of the will and testament. The will and testament, of course, has the twin surging seas, the twin holy trees, the two institutions of the guardianship and the House of Justice, and the two forces of the government and the House of Justice. Shoghi Effendi continued to think in this way until the end of his ministry. Consider his piece on the two simultaneous processes in a letter that is published in Citadel of Faith, where he is addressing the Baha'i community of North America. I won't read all of it because you can see it on the screen, but the gist of it is, how could the American Baha'i community forfeit its birthright when the great Republic of the West, government and people alike, is itself through experiment and trial, slowly, painfully, unwittingly, and irresistibly advancing towards the goal destined for it by both Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l-Baha? Indeed, if we could read aright the signs of the times and appraise correctly the significances of contemporaneous events that are impelling forward both the American Baha'i community and the nation of which it forms a part, on the road leading them to their ultimate destiny, we cannot fail to perceive the workings of two simultaneous processes, each clearly defined, each distinctly separate, yet closely related and destined to culminate in the fullness of time in a single glorious consummation. One of these processes is associated with the mission of the American Baha'i community, the other with the destiny of the American nation. The one serves directly the interests of the administrative order of the faith of Baha'u'llah. The other promotes indirectly the institutions that are to be associated with the establishment of his world order. Just by the way, in my opinion, Citadel of Faith is the wrong title. It should read Citadel of the Faith. For homework, read the whole letter and explain in the comments why it should be Citadel of the Faith, or not, if you disagree. In short, in this section of Citadel of the Faith, the two simultaneous processes are about the American Baha'is' contribution to civilizing the world spiritually versus statecraft, America's role in pacifying the world, ending the scourge of war. In the Akdas, remember, Baha'u'llah addressed the rulers of America and the concourse of rulers and tells them, "Bind ye the broken with the hands of justice and crush the oppressor who flourishes." And I do wish that America would do that more. One of the last pieces that Shoghi Effendi wrote about twins and twonnesses is a cable in 1951 announcing greatly enhanced international endowments in Holy Land in twin cities of Akka and Haifa now include twin holy shrines situated on plain of Akka and slope of Mount Carmel, twin mansions of Baji and Masriya, twin historic houses inhabited by Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l-Baha, twin international archives adjoining the Bab's sepulchre and the resting place of the greatest holy leaf, twin pilgrim houses constructed for Oriental and Occidental pilgrims, twin gardens of Rizwan and Firdaus. So, the Baha'i Commonwealth is born, and hurrah, it's twins, and twins within twins, and then it's twins all the way down. That's Shoghi Effendi's worldview. Another work in our Baha'i scriptures that is all about the divine two-ness of things is Abdu'l-Baha's Art of Governance, or Treatise on Politics. I will show you one quick extract from it, and you can read it all online. Abdu'l-Baha says, "The religious law is like the spirit of life. The government is the locus of the force of deliverance. The religious law is the shining sun, and government is the clouds of April. These two bright stars are like twin lights in the heavens of the contingent world. They have cast their rays upon the people of the world. One has illuminated the world of the soul, the other caused the earth to flower. One sowed pearls in the oceans of conscience, while the other made the surface of the earth a garden of paradise." This work of Abdu'l-Baha is the most beautiful rhetorical work, and I urge everybody to read it. In a pilgrim's note, Zikrullah Khadim recalls Shoghi Effendi speaking. I'll skip a bit because you can read it all on the screen. He says, Shoghi Effendi spoke about the significance of twin things in the cause. In fact, he sent a cable about this to the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the British Isles. In this cable, he told us about the significance of twin occurrences in this cause. He told the Assembly that we have twin cities, holy cities, Akka and Haifa, twin houses, the house of Shiraz and the house of Baghdad, twin manifestations, the manifestation of the Bab and that of Baha'u'llah. He continued telling us, and presumably that means the pilgrims in that group, telling us everything is twin. Twin festivals, the birthday of the Bab and that of Baha'u'llah, twin monuments of the brother and mother of Abdu'l-Baha. During this time I was in his presence, the beloved guardian was so exhilarated and happy, it gave me the courage to mention to him that we have two gardens, the garden of Rizwan and the garden of Firdaus. Then the beloved guardian smiled and said, "You've noted that, but you've forgotten to say twin vistas, the view of the sea and the view of the mountain." After explaining these things, he paused and looked at me deeply and said, "In the cause of God, everything is twin." I have no doubt that he meant two manifestations and two interpreters, the Bab and Baha'u'llah, the two manifestations of God, and Abdu'l-Baha and Shoghi Effendi, the two interpreters. From the mention of a cable, that recollection of Zikrullah Khadim must be from about 1951. Zikrullah Khadim's last comment suggests to me that in retrospect he understood Shoghi Effendi's twins as meaning there would be no second guardian, because the interpreters were Abdu'l-Baha and Shoghi Effendi. That's a long stretch of interpretation from the words, "In the cause of God, everything is twin." It raises the question of when Shoghi Effendi realised that there would not be a second guardian. It was quite late in his life. But so it goes. When you find something interesting, it leads to something else that's interesting, and we can't do everything in one video. If you search Shoghi Effendi's writings for things that are twins and pairs, you'll find much more than I've mentioned. I think that this is more than a characteristic quirk in Shoghi Effendi's way of thinking. I think it's deep in the nature of things, that there are two kinds of unity, organic unity and unity in diversity. Unity in diversity is a unity despite superficial differences. Diversity of culture, of race, whatever that word means, diversity of styles of thinking and approaches to life, do not nullify the fundamental unity of the human race. But the unity of twins and triplets, and so on, is a unity based on differences. The twin pillars of the guardianship and the house of justice each have their own work, and they need each other. Civil government and the Baha'i administrative order are two forces in harmony in the will and testament, because each has its work to do. Irfan and ilm, or knowledge of the heart and intellectual knowledge, complement each other. The Baha'i Fund and the Hukuk Allah differ in almost every detail, and they complement each other. Everything is twin, or sometimes triplets, like the legislative, executive, and judiciary. Why twins? Because in twoness we find the purest and simplest space for love to be expressed.